Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk deeply about something that is quietly destroying focus, discipline, motivation, confidence, and mental peace for millions of people around the world: dopamine addiction. And before we start, I want people to understand something important. Dopamine itself is not evil. In fact, dopamine is necessary for human survival. Without dopamine, you would not feel motivated, you would not chase goals, you would not feel excitement. Movement and learning would suffer. Even basic survival behaviors would become difficult. Dopamine is one of the brain's motivational and reward chemicals. The real problem is not dopamine. The problem is overstimulation. The human brain was never designed for the amount of stimulation modern life gives us every single day. Think about how most people live now. The moment they wake up, they grab their phone, notifications, social media, messages, videos, music, news, short clips, entertainment. Before the brain even fully wakes up, it's already overloaded. And this continues all day long. Scrolling while eating, watching videos while working, checking notifications during conversations, music during silence, videos before sleep. The nervous system never truly rests anymore. And over time, this changes the brain's reward system completely. Now let's understand how dopamine actually works. Most people think dopamine means pleasure. Not exactly. Dopamine is more connected to anticipation and reward-seeking behavior. It's what makes the brain say, do that again, every time you receive a reward: likes, notifications, sugar, porn, gambling, short videos, junk food, validation, shopping, stimulation. The brain receives dopamine activity, and the brain begins learning patterns. It starts chasing quick rewards more and more frequently. That's why social media platforms are so addictive. They are designed around unpredictable rewards. One swipe might show something boring. The next swipe might show something emotional, funny, shocking, attractive, exciting. This unpredictability keeps the brain searching constantly, exactly like gambling. And over time, the brain adapts to this fast stimulation. Now, here's where the dangerous part begins. When the brain becomes overstimulated for long periods, normal life starts feeling less rewarding. Simple things stop feeling enjoyable. Reading becomes difficult. Deep work feels exhausting. Silence feels uncomfortable. Patience disappears. Even conversations become harder because attention span weakens. That's why many people today say things like, I can't focus anymore. I feel mentally exhausted. I start things but never finish. I feel empty. Nothing excites me anymore. This is not always laziness. Many times it's nervous system overload. The brain becomes addicted to intensity. And real life does not provide stimulation every 5 seconds. Real growth is slow. Building muscle is slow. Building confidence is slow. Healing mentally is slow. Learning skills is slow. Success is slow. But dopamine addiction destroys tolerance for slowness. People want instant results, instant validation, instant pleasure, instant change. And when results take time, they quit. Now, another important thing people rarely talk about is emotional dopamine addiction. Many people are not addicted to stimulation because life is enjoyable. They are addicted because they are escaping themselves. Stress, loneliness, trauma, overthinking, fear, emptiness. Instead of facing those emotions directly, people numb themselves with stimulation. Scrolling becomes emotional anesthesia. Entertainment becomes emotional escape. And temporarily it works. That's why it becomes addictive. Because distraction removes discomfort temporarily. But later the emotions return stronger, and eventually people lose the ability to sit alone with themselves. Silence starts feeling uncomfortable. Stillness feels stressful. The brain constantly needs noise. That is one of the clear signs of dopamine overload. Now let's talk about another huge issue: dopamine and motivation. People think motivation disappears because they are weak. Not always. Sometimes the brain becomes so overstimulated by high dopamine activities that normal productive tasks feel underwhelming. This is why studying feels hard, working feels boring, training feels difficult, discipline feels painful. The brain has become conditioned to expect fast pleasure instead of meaningful effort. And this creates procrastination, not because the person lacks intelligence, but because the brain is constantly searching for easier rewards. Now let's talk about healing and recovery. The first thing people must understand is this: you cannot heal an overstimulated brain while constantly overstimulating it. The nervous system needs recovery, and recovery feels uncomfortable at first. That's important to understand. When people reduce stimulation, Life may temporarily feel boring, motivation may feel lower, emotions may feel stronger, silence may feel uncomfortable. That is normal. The brain is recalibrating. Now, here are some of the most powerful ways to heal dopamine addiction naturally. First, reduce overstimulation gradually. Do not try to become a monk overnight, but start reducing unnecessary stimulation. Endless scrolling, useless notifications, constant short videos, mindless content, overstimulation before sleep. Second, practice silence intentionally. This is extremely powerful. Walk without your phone sometimes. Eat without entertainment. Sit quietly for a few minutes. Allow your nervous system to calm down again. At first, this feels strange because the brain is addicted to noise, but over time, silence becomes peaceful again. Third, exercise consistently. Exercise is one of the healthiest ways to regulate dopamine naturally. Training improves mood, focus, emotional stability, confidence, discipline, stress management. And unlike fake dopamine spikes, exercise creates long-term positive adaptation. Fourth, improve sleep seriously. Sleep affects dopamine receptors massively. Poor sleep increases cravings, impulsiveness, emotional instability, anxiety, brain fog, low motivation. Most people are mentally exhausted partly because they are chronically sleep deprived. Fifth, learn delayed gratification. This is one of the biggest life hacks for rebuilding discipline. Train your brain to earn rewards again. Work before entertainment. Train before relaxing. Complete tasks before stimulation. This slowly rebuilds self-control and patience. Sixth, stop multitasking constantly. Modern brains are overloaded with constant attention switching. Music, messages, scrolling, videos, notifications. This weakens deep focus. Start practicing single task focus again. One task, one moment, one direction. This feels difficult at first because the brain lost tolerance for sustained attention, but focus can absolutely be rebuilt. Seventh, replace fake dopamine with meaningful dopamine. This is extremely important. There's a huge difference between cheap stimulation and meaningful fulfillment. Cheap dopamine, endless scrolling, junk food, constant stimulation, impulsive pleasure. Meaningful dopamine, training, learning, growth, building something, progress, real human connection, purpose. One creates emptiness, the other creates fulfillment. Now, another powerful thing, be careful what your brain consumes daily, because the brain adapts to repetition. If every day your mind consumes negativity, chaos, overstimulation, comparison, toxic content, eventually your internal state reflects it. Your environment becomes your psychology. And maybe the most important thing I want people to understand from this video is this. Attention is one of the most valuable things humans have. Whatever controls your attention eventually controls your life. And right now, many people are giving away their attention every single day without realizing how deeply it affects their focus, emotions, discipline, their confidence, relationships, identity. But the beautiful thing about the human brain is this. The brain adapts, which means healing is possible. Focus can return, peace can return, discipline can return, motivation can return, mental clarity can return, but only when you stop feeding your nervous system constant chaos and finally allow your mind to breathe again. Thank you for watching. And if this video helped you, comment below what topic you want next because we're just getting started.